What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Okay, back at it again for the much anticipated weekly spot with my guy from Lexington, Kentucky, from Philly originally, but he's been in the South. Is that the South, the North South?
Depends on who you ask. Like Lexington is, I call it like a hybrid between the South and the Midwest. Uh, so yeah, I consider Lexington like a hybrid city. But if you go like more south in Kentucky, it's definitely the South.
Kind of like the West Virginia of the Midwest. Like, is West Virginia the South?
No, but it's parts
It's kind
of
of
it
its
are
own thing.
kind of
It's like
are.
it's like its own thing. That's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys get to just be your own people.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, another big week. Big bets on campus. Action Network podcast. You can find them on all things Action Network. I don't even know where to start. Obviously, last week it's tough. You know, you take the double headers. If they do that Sunday morning European game is pretty good. It can lead to tough sledding in the middle of the day here, Stuckey.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing I don't like about these because you have you have some teams on a bye, and then they keep doing these double headers on Monday, and then a London game, and then it leaves. I mean, last week at 4 o'clock, it was Bucks versus the Niners shell unit. R.I.P. to your Niners. Like, I mean, they can't catch a break. At the Titans Raiders and the Packers Bengals. Those are the three games. This week at 1 o'clock or 10 a.m. if you're on the West Coast, the early slate is Raiders Chiefs, Dolphins Browns, Pats Titans, Panthers Jets, Saints Bears, and Eagles Vikings. That's a lot of games with a lot of bad teams playing in them. So, I mean, it's the NFL. We'll all watch. Some of them will be closer than we expect. But yeah, it kind of leaves some of these windows bare, and which is what I don't like about it. Like, I get playing two Monday night games early in the season or a London game around the season, and when no one has buys too, but it gets a little excessive. But what are you going to do? There's still lines. We're still going to bet on these games.
Yeah, we don't have a choice, especially if you're going to watch those morning games. Okay, all lines presented by our friends and our partners at Hard Rock Bet. And let's just start with a couple of my hammers of the week.
Wait, by the way, before we get to them, I got to ask you on the West Coast, do you always wake up
No.
to watch the London game? Never? Does it depend on the matchup?
Depends on the matchup. I mean, if it's like your classic, remember Belichick played like Gardner Minshew a couple years ago, like games like that, and it was just horrendous. You know, Minshew beat him, but the final score was like 13-8 or something. I'm not going to watch it because I'm not going to talk about it. It's going to be lost kind of in just the world for what I do specifically. But like this week, you know, if Rodgers is involved, if this week the Rams and the Jags, I mean, those are two playoff teams. Those are two teams that can win the division. I mean, that's a game that I'd want to watch. I mean, that would get if that was on the 10 a.m. slot, even if I have the 10 games on, that game's probably getting the sound, you know, of a 4 box. So that one's tough.
Yeah, this one's worth waking up for.
Yeah, this. Luckily, for the most part, they are more miss than hit.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, oh, Denver, I want to see the Broncos. Then you get up, you're like, this game is this.
That was
the
one
whole
of
thing
the
is
worst sporting events I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of irrelevant, but it's not because you're going to talk about Denver. But like, how many people actually care? You know, ultimately about that game. If Denver goes on to win 12, 13 games, that moment is kind of lost, and you'd be like, well, it's playing in Europe. You're staying in Philly and then you're leaving. It's kind of a wacky thing, but he also didn't complete more than 3 balls in the second half. It's kind of an issue for a team that could be a Super Bowl contender. So I much prefer two shitty teams. I don't have to pay attention. You know, you've had a long day Saturday watching football. You get up, you really got to lock in. I try to get my blood flowing. I try to get a workout in the morning because I don't do that much on Saturday and Sunday. And that just, it throws me. I'm like watching on my phone as I'm driving around. I'm like, what is wrong with me? This is crazy. I'm watching Justin Fields just get sacked over and over. I'm like,
Negative 10 passing yards. Yeah, that was ugly.
But even this week, Obviously the injury. Before we get to the hammers, I guess let's just start there. Puka's out. He's a main cog for them. A lot of people go, well, they didn't play that well against the Ravens. Like, the Ravens have a guy, a $15 million coach. They have a prideful organization. They get to a point. I've seen this with the Niners before, and it might happen this Sunday. When you're just down a bunch of guys, you just have like a kitchen sink effort. I mean, the Niners just kind of had it actually against the Bucs. Like, you're not going to get rolled even if you're playing a bunch of practice squads. So I didn't really hold that against the Rams. It's a long travel. You won the game, you win by double digits, but this is kind of a different animal. The Rams, I would guess, like the Broncos last week, just take their stuff with them and go right over.
Yeah, they're staying on the East Coast. Then McVay has done it twice, covered both games, won both games. Cohen, obviously new head coach, but the Jags in general as a roster are very familiar with doing this. They're the team that plays overseas most frequently. So, yeah, the Nacua, I mean, that loss is big because, especially against the Jags play a lot of zone. Nacua is the zone beater god. And, I mean, he just will find any hole in the zone. Stafford knows he can rely on him. And they brought in Adams, and Adams is like the man beater, and he's going to stretch the defenses. So, yeah, I mean, Nacua is obviously one of the best receivers in the NFL. That loss is pretty big. We'll see if the Jags center goes. They're missing their tight end, Brenton Strange, which hurts in the tight end. Their center's been one of the best run blockers in the NFL, didn't play last week. And then just their communication and everything was way off against the Seahawks, who have a dominant defensive line, but the Rams have a good defensive line as well. If they can get protection, there's going to be some opportunities downfield against a Rams secondary that is definitely the weakness of their team. But the Nacua injury is certainly noteworthy. That line right now is sitting, let's see. Did it get announced that he's definitely out?
I mean, I guess I just assumed.
I assume he's out too. I don't know if it got announced, but that's like once it does, the line could move. It's sitting at 3. Assuming he's out, I would lean with the Jags just taking the 3 points, but I think it's pretty close to right where that line is. I think it'll be a good competitive game.
It's also a pretty big week because you got, the Niners mash unit playing the Falcons. That's going to be tough, right? You got Seattle Monday night against Houston. There's a decent chance. I mean, all 3 of these teams could lose. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals, you saw that comment by Jonathan Gannon about Michael Vick going to jail. They are cracking at the seams. They are. It is about to implode. I was tempted to have the Packers as my hammer if they were playing better and just kind of end this little experiment in Arizona, but they're just not playing quite well enough to just come on the road and just dominate. But I can foresee that thing just like, wait, the Packers are up 27-0 at halftime. But I think the Niners are in trouble Sunday night. Seattle's just a tough game. Houston's defensive line is just really good. So if Seattle or the Rams win this week, I'm pretty confident they'll be in first place. It's just these London games can be weird. I don't know. I don't have a great feel for this game. The Jags, I just can't bet on them with a straight face. But this Ram spot, tough spot, weird week. This is your classic. Like, this is why you pay McVay a lot of money. You're in a hotel for a long time, right? Really, because you come out to Philly or who they played, Baltimore. They probably came out Friday, so they've just been gone away from their family and their beds for a long time. And football is not baseball or basketball. Like, you don't really spend that much time on the road, right? That's why these football players, they might have side girlfriends, but they don't, not like those other athletes, because they're really just your home base the overwhelming majority of your season.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think, 3 is like close to right, just without Nacua against the zone heavy D. Like, if I had to take it, I would take just the points in my back pocket. But I don't think there's a ton to do there.
Tomorrow's college football slate is loaded with 5 ranked teams, matchups, and upset potential everywhere. Couple I like. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Trojans, like USC. Get in on the action. Sign up with the Hard Rock Bet today. If your $5 bet wins, you'll score $150 in bonus bets on top of your winning. Download the Hard Rock Bet now. Plus, today and tomorrow on Hard Rock Bet, you can get a college football profit boost. Boost your college football parlay so your bet pays extra in winnings. Head over now to the Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app and make your first deposit. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go three dogs for my hammer. I'm gonna go the Raiders plus 11.5. I'm gonna go the Vikings. That line's actually come down a little bit. Minnesota plus 1.5, and the Saints plus 4.5. We can start Saints at Chicago. Obviously, again that Monday night turnover. We just did that with the Jags. We love Seattle. Now, Seattle's a better team than the Saints, but we've been hammering this the whole time. He's not bad. Spencer Rattler's pretty solid. Their offense, defense, not great, but Chicago isn't exactly the '07 Pats on offense. And coming off this big win, this emotional win, which they got a little lucky, but hell, they deserved a little luck. They got screwed last week at times or last year at times. Listen, Caleb, I'm not as down on him maybe as Troy Aikman, but I'm not exactly anointing him some like top 15 quarterback right now. He makes some awesome plays, but I like the Saints a lot in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb, he's getting better. He's not taking as many sacks. That's one of the biggest. That's one of the things he's improved the most upon. His pressure to sack ratio has been cut in half. I think that's the influence of Ben Johnson. So like of all the pressures, like he's literally cut the amount of times he takes sacks in half when he's pressured. That's big, but he's still not accurate enough. There's, it's last week I think was about Ben Johnson. He really got the run game going. Just a beautifully schemed game. But you're right, they did get a bunch of bounces that went their way. If Jane Daniels doesn't drop that handoff, they don't win that game. And now it's a tough spot, short week coming home. The Saints are frisky. Like the Saints are in pretty much every game. They're competitive. Spencer Rattler's playing like at a league average rate, which I wouldn't have believed if you told me that after last year, where he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. The offense is much better schemed. So yeah, I think taking the points there is the right move. I also agree with you on the Vikings. The Vikings, I mean, look, the Eagles to me are on fade alert until further notice. This just looks like a couple years ago under Brian Johnson. And over their last three coordinators before Patullo, Steichen, obviously very good. Brian Johnson, disastrous. And then Kellen Moore, who's now at the Saints, who was very good. If you look at their numbers versus zone and blitz, Patullo's numbers versus zone and blitz this year are exponentially worse than even Brian Johnson. So you had your numbers like with Steichen were here and Kellen Moore were here, and then like Brian Johnson's here. With Patullo, they are like, I can't even show you how low they are.
Well, why do you think that is?
It's just it's not a well schemed offense. No one's on the same page, but nothing is working. Additionally, the offensive line has taken a huge step back. There's a bunch of injuries. They're not healthy. And as a result, they can't get the run game going. And I mean, Saquon Barkley is averaging 2.6 yards per carry in the second half of games. Last year was 6.5. He's being contacted. Crazy. He's being contacted behind the line of scrimmage 36% of the time. Last year, which is second highest in the league, last year it was 24%. So they can't get him going. And then and Jalen Hurts has never been great against zone. And he's always been worse against the blitz. And now the offensive line has cratered, the run game has cratered. And it's just like when you look at the play design, everything is bad. Like unless it's like, hey, straight man and AJ Brown goes and beats his man on like a little comeback route or something, there's a busted coverage. Like Hurts isn't seeing the field, and I don't think it's well schemed. He's been the worst quarterback in the league against cover two. Well, the Vikings play more cover two than any defense in the league. He's been one of the worst against zone. He's still killing man. And he's been one of the worst against blitz. Well, most blitz-heavy coordinator in the league, Brian Flores. The team running the least amount of man besides the Cowboys, the Vikings, one of the most zone-heavy teams. So like this is a nightmare matchup. They should also get Blake Cashman back, maybe Van Ginkel, but Cashman will help with their run defense. And then on the other side of the ball, the Eagles' defense is not the same caliber unit as it was last year. They lost a lot of talent. The secondary is not the same. The edge, the pressure isn't the same. I mean, they're below league average in pressure. They're 19th in EPA per play, 19th in success rate. One of the two, like, I guess there's three: Cooper DeJean, Jalen Carter, and then Quinyon Mitchell on the outside. Well, Quinyon Mitchell is banged up. I don't think he's going to go. which is massive because now your two corners on the outside against Addison and Justin Jefferson are very, very questionable. Jalen Carter is not healthy, and you need him because your depth isn't great on the defensive line. You're not getting a ton of pressure off the edge. So even with Carson Wentz, off a bye with this great staff and one of the toughest places to play in the NFL, I like the Vikings to get it done. I can't. It's just a nightmare matchup for the Eagles. I can't quite get that. And by the way, there will be a time. I say this every week, and it never happens. So one time, I guess I have to keep saying it, and I'll look smart when it finally does. There will be a game when the NFL, who says they're going to crack down on the tush-push false starts, when that happens and it costs the Eagles 4 points. Like it's happened twice inside the 10 when they clearly went offside, false started. You could see it, and everyone could see it. Like they do it all the time, but the most obvious ones, they didn't call it for some reason. And then they get the first down, and then, it's first and goal inside the 10, and they get a touchdown. If that is a false start, then you're probably kicking a field goal. Like that's like 4 points, which could be huge. This could be a lower scoring game. So that'll happen eventually. Or it also could just, if they do it at midfield, it could lead to a punt instead of, what ends up being a scoring drive. Raiders, I don't blame you for taking the points there.
I don't have much logic behind this. It's not like I like the Raiders and don't think the Chiefs are playing well. That just seems like a pretty seems like a lot early in the season.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs offense is back. I will say that, and they get Rice back this week. I mean, like Mahomes' numbers, his average air yards downfield are like the highest since 2018. His passer rating is the highest since 2022, and now they're getting one of their best weapons back. But the speed on the outside, the improvement along the offensive line, that offense is now dynamic.
Well, don't you think Kelsey looks a little better too? Looks a little more refreshed. I think the last couple of weeks. I don't know.
He has looked a little better. I think also part of that is like all of the speed that they have, like with the emergence of Thornton, getting Worthy back. He has more space to operate, right? Like, and this offense is throwing the ball down the field. Before
Hollywood's playing well.
Yeah. But before everything was, and their run game is a little bit better. They're running it more under center, which has helped. But before, their entire offense was in a phone booth. And like Kelsey's not, he doesn't have the same speed so there was just, everything was clogged up. So now he has a little bit more space to find holes and zones and operate. The case for the Raiders, I mean, the Raiders right now are a mess. I mean, their offense is broken. Part of that is no Brock Bowers. I don't understand just they've run it too often on first downs, and their offensive line is completely broken, and they're without one of the best left tackles in the NFL, and Colton Miller. So without Miller and Bowers, and Geno Smith has just looked horrendous. So like, are they going to be able to move the ball? I don't know. The Chiefs' run defense hasn't been great, so you might be able to actually run it a little bit here, play keep away. On defense, they're just going to sell out to stop the explosive play. So they're going to play a ton of zone. That is basically the MO of what Alex was trying to do because they don't have corners. They don't have great corners on the outside. So the route to a cover here is run the ball a little bit, control the clock, take away the Chiefs' explosive play, and then wait for Crosby, who's going to have some plus matchups against the Chiefs tackles to make a play or two. And then once the Chiefs get a lead in these games, they just sit on it. So there could be an opportunity for a backdoor. And Mahomes has not been, the Chiefs are historically been horrendous as a favorite of more than a touchdown. He usually wins these games. He's 36-2 straight up, which is the best win percentage of all time as a favorite of 7 or more. But just as a little weird note, the 2 losses did come against the Raiders, one of them on Christmas Day a couple years ago. So that's the one I probably can't. The Raiders are just a mess right now. I can't get there, but I don't blame you for taking the points. But I do like the Saints, and I really like the Vikings.
Jack Jones picked them off, pick 6. I think I remember.
Yep.
I was pretty hungover that day. I had a long Christmas Eve night. I remember laying in bed watching that game.
Sounds about right.
So a couple other games we touched on it briefly. I mean, the Packers, after the first couple weeks, have definitely just looked a little off. But the Cardinals, I just feel like they're really cracking. I mean, they actually had a chance. They played pretty well in that game. Jacoby was slinging around against the Colts, and then the dust settles and they lose. And then you just kind of feel it like, does this guy think he's going to get fired? I mean, it's Jonathan Gannon. if they lose, all of a sudden we look up and they're 3-8. Like, is he getting fired before the season ends? Is that the stress that he's wearing when he has that comment? I kind of think it's possible. You never know. I mean, the Cardinals actually are much closer to like the Jets or the Dolphins. They just don't have as much money, just in terms of dysfunction. Don't let like the Bruce Arians couple years fool you. They're a fucking joke franchise. And listen, you've talked about Jonathan Gannon. I've always heard really, really good things. I think overall he's done a pretty good job. I mean, his quarterback's tiny, can't see, and is a pretty erratic player. And they don't have that much talent. I've watched him play a lot of NFC West games and always been pretty impressed. I don't think he's bad. We've seen some coaches, especially, assistant coaches, head coaches that are Patula completely over his head. Like, I don't necessarily think Jonathan Gannon's completely over his head. I mean, but that moment where DeMarcado drops the ball, he slaps him on the shoulder pad, which, 15 years ago, no one was saying anything. All of a sudden, he gets a $100,000 fine. They lose the next week. And now, do we think Kyler's out again this week? Probably.
I don't know. I mean, they're a tough team to crack. I mean, like, I was high.
Jacoby's not, because Jacoby's probably not a great matchup like Flacco against the Packers, given they can rush the passer and he can't move.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Cardinals, they started off 2-0, I mean, on the season, and then they easily could have beat the 49ers. There was a wide open drop. They lost by 1. Then, so they could have easily been 3-0. Then they lost to the Seahawks by 3 on a last-second field goal. And because of a kickoff, they messed up the kickoff after they came back to tie it. Now, granted, they were down 2 touchdowns, but they were a play or two away from being 4-0. And then against the Titans, they should have been up 28-6.
Yeah.
And then they dropped the ball. And
they have not played bad this season.
So they easily could have been like 5-0. And then they played the Colts. And then they have so many injuries. Like, they don't have any running game anymore because all their running backs are hurt. And I do think it's a really well-schemed defense. They do some of the most exotic things with their 3 safety looks in the league, but they've also had injuries at corner. So I still think Gannon is a sharp guy. But, yeah, it does feel like it's teetering right now. I don't know if Murray's going to play. He was limited. Now, the thing is, like, if he does play and they have, like, a plate in his foot, like, and if he can't move, I mean, you don't want Murray in the pocket. No, that's not going to work against the Packers defense and the pressure they can generate. And especially since the Cardinals just don't have a run game now. And I think they really do miss like Clayton Adams, who's now with the Cowboys as their offensive coordinator. And last year he was with Arizona, and their running game, now I know they have injuries, was much more dynamic and better. But like last week, the offense did look, also Marvin Harrison might be out as well. So like, it's tough to back the Cardinals here with all the injury situations. Now you could say like, hey, look, the offense looked much better last week against the Colts, but I think that had a lot to do with the Colts secondary injuries. I mean, Travis Ward's arguably been the best corner in the league this year. If you look at some like yards per route allowed, he's been awesome, and he got a concussion before the game. They were already down Kenny Moore. They were already down.
No, not before, like not in pregame warmups. In pregame warmups, the Colts lost 2 players. Now, granted, one's their starting corner, the others are back. That's unprecedented territory. They lost a guy who had to go to the hospital and a concussion. Guy broke his face and got a concussion. 2 separate injuries where guys are warming up in shorts and t-shirts before you even put on your pads and your helmet. That's insane.
I can't say I've ever seen that. But they were already down. I mean, 2 of the best corners in the league this year have been Kenny Moore and Travis Ward, and they're already down a couple depth pieces. So they were playing guys. I mean, Mekhi Blackman, they didn't even play last year. Chris Lamons, I think, is the nickel now. Like they missed Mike Hilton, they lost their back. So their secondary was in shambles, and you don't have your number one who you thought you were going to have, a couple hours before the game started. Which is one of the reasons why I like the Chargers this weekend. I know the Colts have been great, but I mean, if you look at it, the Colts this year,
is Tarvarius still in the protocol?
Yeah, and that's not his first concussion.
No, he got him with 49ers.
Yeah, he didn't practice today. I don't think that he's going to play. Kenny Moore is practicing, but he hasn't practiced in weeks, and it's an Achilles. They're 5-1. So I think his status is highly in doubt. Josh Downs also concussion, and he's not practicing today. So, like, I mean, the Colts have been very good.
Probably back, right?
What's that?
Khalil Mack is he back this week?
Now, you could get Perryman back too, which helps with the run defense. I don't know on Joe Alt or the Chargers offensive line. Um, that's my biggest concern with the Chargers. Their offensive line is just horrendous. But the Colts aren't on a team that gets elite pressure. And if their secondary is what it looked like last week, Herbert's going to pick them apart way more than Brissett could. And I think that is the biggest difference in this game. And I think the Colts are a good team, and Daniel Jones has played well. But I went back and watched some of the Daniel Jones games this year. He's playing well, but he's gotten away with a lot of throws. He's not really seeing safeties. His turnover-worthy play rate is very high. It's I think 2.5 times that of Herbert's, who's one of the best in that department. But I think that against Minter's defense, he's going to make some mistakes. Additionally, this is really in the weeds. The Chargers have the most accurate kicker in NFL history, Cameron Dicker. The Colts have the Money Badger, who's like an 80% career, so maybe there's a kick or two. But the Colts have beaten. Here's who the Colts have beaten this year: Tua, Nix, thanks to a leaping penalty, Cam Ward, Geno Smith, and Brissett. Those are their 5 wins. So they've definitely been fortunate with the schedule, and a lot of teams have had a ton of injuries. So yeah, I think this is a spot for the chart, and a lot of this has to do with just the secondary injuries for the Colts and the fact that they don't generate they're not like a Giants defensive line, which just completely crippled the Chargers offense, and the Chargers offensive line could be a little bit healthier. So I like the Chargers this week and that's related to what the Cardinals did last week, because the Colts secondary was just completely dysfunctional.
I haven't really paid attention to it, but I was just looking at the stats. Remember, it was a big deal when Chris Ballard got Latu, the kid from UCLA, because he was like, how did we get this guy at the end of it was 17 or 18. He was the first defensive player. He has 1 sack this season.
He was hurt. He's getting
missed he's missed the game.
Yeah, he's getting some decent pressure, but it's not been extraordinary by any stretch. So I think if the Colts are, I don't Daniel Jones still has a ceiling. It's a well-schemed offense. The offensive line's really good. Jonathan Taylor's really good. They have good weapons. The defense has definitely improved, because it's not just Gus Bradley running base cover 3 that everyone knows, and they had no D-backs. So now, I mean, their safeties are playing well. They went out and Bauer went out and actually finally, for the first time, I don't know, he should be in a prison somewhere for keeping Gus Bradley as long as he did, but he never would go out and get defensive backs. He was always let's just count on our draft picks. And the draft picks, they never could draft any defensive backs. So they went out and they got Ward. They went out and got Cam Bynum, and their safeties are playing well. Ward is playing at an elite level.
Ward's a good player. I mean, Ward's a physical, tackling, can cover, can make plays on the ball. He's a high-end corner.
And they had no corners in recent years, the worst corners in the league. So their defense has a higher upside now. So they're a good team. But I think if they wanted to go to the next level, I'm not sure if Daniel Jones can get them there, but if they just had one more elite edge rusher, then when they're healthy, they could be even more dangerous. But I think the Chargers get it done at home.
Cleveland, Miami. I defended Tua a little bit. Obviously shouldn't have said it, but at the same time, it's such a reflection of, isn't his coach's job to make sure everyone's dialed in? And it's clearly Mike's terrible at that. He's the opposite of the Tomlins and the Harbaughs. I mean, he's, you walk all over that guy. Even Fangio was I quit. I'm out. So Tua's attempting to do it, even if guys clearly don't respect him either. I mean, Cleveland, it's pretty rare that you see coach on GM, coach on coach, just crime before a game or in a situation, especially they weren't even playing. And I think Mike Tomlin, I don't know where your theory on this, but I think he's kind of sticking up for Stefanski, who kind of had some comments last week when they traded him. I didn't quite see this coming. Andrew Berry's just up there kind of operating like Theo or Billy Bean. I'll just get a 6th-round pick for the start. It's you got 2 young quarterbacks. They need someone to kind of bounce ideas and see how to operate. That's what good teams would value. But they're like, well, we don't give a fuck. Widgets, see ya, out of here. And they're watching them last week. I didn't realize how bad Cleveland's O line was, and I get the Steelers' defensive line was humming, but they were just like dreidels the whole game. And Dylan Gabriel, I mean, it was you could have put Deshaun Watson in his prime back there. He would have been under siege. But this Dolphins team, who actually showed a little heart, because once Tua threw that pick in the middle of the game, then they scored. It was like 20, I think
3-13, 20.
Yeah, so it was like it kind of felt like they were going to just they're going to end up losing this game 30-13, and they came storming back. It's weird. Like everyone's shitting on them. They're showing way more life than like the Jets or whatever. Now you could argue Tua's a way better player than Fields, so their offense is going to look better. I don't know. I mean, Cleveland's defense obviously is pretty good, but I'd have a hard time taking Cleveland. I couldn't gamble this game. I know you you got a little action on it, but you're
I did play the Browns. Now it's probably correlated to the under. The Browns haven't scored more than 17 points, I think, in 11 games. So they definitely have a ceiling on their offense, which is like 17 to 20 points. But if you look at this, number one, the Browns defense at home over the last 3 years is a different animal. No one can score on them when they play in Cleveland. You go back to the Packers offense. You go back to the Bengals with the healthy Burrow. The Ravens multiple times over the past couple of years. Any offense they play in Cleveland, they dominate. And now you're going up against one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL with one of the best defensive lines, and there's no Tyreek Hill. So the explosion isn't there for the Miami offense. And that's basically how you have to beat this Cleveland defense that's aggressive. You have to hit explosive passing plays. That's the one blemish on their statistical profile. I think they're like 21st in explosive passing allowed, but the Dolphins, even with Hill for part of the year, are 24th. So and they just don't have that explosion anymore. And what this game comes down to me, and then what does Miami do well? I mean, like, I don't know. Their offensive line is one of the worst in the NFL. Well, they were supposed to have an explosive passing attack, but there's no Tyreek Hill. So it's like A-Chain and Waddle are pretty good. Waller's good in the red zone. It's like there's some decent pieces on the offense, but the defense, there's nothing there at all. They're blitzing at a top 5 rate because they know they can't cover, but they're getting pressure at a bottom 5 rate. They have the worst, I think, corner group in the NFL. Nothing is redeeming about this team. But I think that this comes down to the Browns' defensive line dominating this game. But there also should be weather here, and I think that's a key factor. There's gonna be wind and rain, and if that's the case, this game is just gonna come down to who can run the ball more. And like the Dolphins have a bottom 2 run defense in the league. I mean, we saw the Chargers backup offensive line was running all over them. We saw the Panthers, Rico Dowdle still running against them. So I think the Browns can run the ball here against a much worse run D, and the Browns are a top 3 run defense. So that's just going to lead to more third known passing situations for Tua where this defensive line can tee off. And the Browns, I think, can put enough drives together on the ground with Judkins, who has looked pretty good. And yeah, they lost their tackles last week, but it looks like Robinson will be good to go. They're going to have to probably put Lucas at right tackle. But yeah, I just think this comes down to Browns defense at home against a horrendous offensive line. No Tyreek Hill. Weather game, potential high winds, precipitation. Like it's going to be a lot of running. One defense cannot stop the run. The other defense is elite at it. I think that's the difference. I think the Browns get it done at home. It's ugly, like laying points with Dylan Gabriel, who can like barely see over his linemen. Yeah, I like the Browns at home under a field goal.
I think Waller's had one of the craziest careers in NFL history.
Insane.
Late round pick, the drug issues. Gruden sees him doing Monday Night Football in warm-ups or something, gets him for nothing. It was pretty clear when he kind of pops. You're like, holy shit, this guy's a freak talent. Becomes a Pro Bowler, gets paid, gets traded to the Giants for a 3rd-round pick, kind of gets hurt, then quits.
Starts a rap career.
Starts a rap career, and then just comes back and honestly has made a couple plays. I mean, he's got multiple touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
He just shows back up in his mid-30s and just scoring touchdowns left and right for a shitty team.
Insane.
It's crazy. Sunday night game, listen, at this point in time, I don't know how you overcome Fred Warner's ankle pointing the other way. It's pretty devastating. And Zach Robinson, maybe he doesn't quite have his sights set on Oklahoma State. Maybe he's got his sights set on trying to become a coach in the NFL, a head coach, and he's just giving the ball to Bijan. That's because that's what I do. And I just don't know how the 49ers. I mean, that Baker play is a good example. If Fred's in the game, like, do you think Baker's making it the first down? Probably not. And there are countless other plays that he's a dominant player. You can't remove Bosa and Fred Warner. I don't care how good Robert Saleh is. Motivating guys. It's just the drop off is gigantic. So I think the 49ers. Did you see the clip of Kyle reading the injury report? It took him like 35 seconds and he took like 7 breaths.
It's yeah, it's pretty crazy that they just can't catch a break. I mean, the team was built on like, okay, you still have a lot of talented, like first of all, there's still a lot of offensive injuries, but you have Kyle Shanahan running the offense with a lot of talented weapons. I mean, at least they're going to get Kittle back this week. At least it looks like.
We think, but it's like, I don't know, hamstring injuries with
yeah,
older
you never
player.
know.
You got to be careful.
But all their weapons have been hurt. The quarterback
Pearsall looked
hurt.
incredible. Boom, he hurts his knee. He's out again.
Yeah, so it's insane. But then, like the entire defense, in order to get up to like a reasonable level, it was like bringing Salah, which I think was a great move. But it's a stars and scrubs unit because you had to pay Purdy and you had to pay some of your other players. They had a mass exodus in the offseason of talent, guys like Jarvis Ward that we just talked about.
Look at Hufanga for the Broncos, makes plays every game.
Yep. So they were going to need some rookies to step up, and then they were going to need their stars to play like stars, and they've lost both. I mean, Bosa is not just losing the playmaking of Bosa, it's the trickle-down effect of all the other guys who now get more attention and don't benefit from the attention Bosa gets. Their pressure rate without Bosa on the field has cratered to poverty levels. So they're not getting any pressure. And then you have Fred Warner, the best linebacker in the NFL, cleaning up everything, making plays, and now he's done. So on paper, now this is a bottom tier defense. This
is a must win for Atlanta if you're going to be taken seriously, because you have a performance like you did on Monday night. I was like, damn, their defense was flying around, they're getting pressure. We know Raheem's good, on that side of the ball. They're really kind of coming together. They invested, whether we agree with the trade for the kid from Tennessee or not. I still think it's pretty crazy. Like, if the defense is going to get pressure and you give the ball to Bijan Robinson, you have a chance and you can protect Penix. Like, Penix was kind of just sitting back there and slinging it around. It's not like the Bills are that much different than the 49ers, are they, personnel wise?
Yeah. The key injury to watch there is Jake Matthews, their left tackle. He is the longest active streak in the NFL of starts. 80 something, maybe I'm going to guess. Because they're already down their right tackle on McGarry. But they kind of schemed to make up for that. Their backup, so now they could be down to 2 backup tackles. And I know the 49ers defense is in shambles, but that would be bad. I mean, in the second half, you had this Mike Jarrell came in at left tackle against the Bills, and the Falcons offense did not look the same, and he was bad. So that's something that's worth watching. It's also not a great spot. Like, you're traveling across the country after a big win on Monday Night Football against the Bills, playing a Niners team off of a loss, although they're traveling too. So it's not a great situational spot for Atlanta, but yeah, I actually don't mind like the over there. It's hard to know with the injury report for the Niners, but
49ers could fall apart here just because they don't have the bodies the next couple of weeks. They play Houston in a week.
Yeah,
I mean, it could get ugly.
Yeah, they're a tough team to handicap right now with all the injuries, especially midweek. But if I had to bet it right now, I would actually look at the over. Shanahan will find ways to get points. There's a chance they're a little bit healthier with their skill positions this week. And then that San Francisco defense right now it's in rough shape, and that Atlanta offense can move the ball. My only fear is like both teams want to run the ball, and it's not going to be a fast-paced game. So like if there's just a bunch of red zone stops, it's going to be hard to get over that number. But yeah, it's a shame what happened to the Niners, because like the potential was there. Like the offense can be good with Shanahan, and then you just needed Salah with Warner and Bosa, and then some of the rookies to emerge. and they started to show some promise. But now without Warner or Bosa, it's like, as you said, I don't know how you overcome that.
The Monday night doubleheader, Tampa at Detroit. Obviously, they got a million injuries as well. So I mean, the Lions aren't the healthiest team. I mean, every team in the league. And it is real. You follow this stuff closely. Is this as bad as you ever remember it? The amount of teams with the amount of injuries. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the clusters are crazy. Like this at that game, I don't know what to bet. Like because Tampa's been extremely fortunate this year. Baker Mayfield's playing at like a god level, and even with that, like they've won. I what are there 4 games at the last second.
If they had average quarterback play, what would they be, like 2-4 right now?
I could have 1 win probably. So yeah, I mean, but like their offensive line has a bunch of injuries. It looks like they're going to be without Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin, Ikbuka, Mike Evans may or may not go. But then Mayfield's playing at such a high level, and he's going up against the Lions team that's going to be without all their corners. Branch is suspended, but the Bucs defense isn't any good. So, and the Lions are at home. Like their offense is Taylor Decker going to play? That's key. Their tackle, but Bowles is going to send the blitz. I have no idea on that game. I couldn't tell you. Seattle, look, I mean, Houston is coming off. I still don't believe in the Houston offense. Like, yeah, they exploded late against the Titans, but it's the Titans. And then they played the Ravens practice squad defense. If Seattle gets some of their defensive backs, I know we're talking about injuries again, but they were without 3 starting defensive backs the past couple of weeks. Their defensive line should wreak havoc on the Texans' offensive line and just crater that offense. Now, the Houston defense is really, really good, but the Seattle offense is playing at an elite level. So, like, I just don't know how Houston can keep up, especially if Seattle is healthier in the defensive backfield. I think just like if you look at what's going to happen in that game, it's Seattle's defensive line just overwhelms Houston and causes too many negative plays. So I would look at Seattle at home in that one.
That place is going to be so loud, bro. 7:00 at night on Monday night. That place is going to be, I mean, if the Houston offense can look good in that environment, I would be floored.
Yeah. Yeah. The Houston offense line is probably there's going to be a bunch of false starts. And
it's going to be a throwback in like peak Pete Carroll days with LOB, I think, the loudness, because they got a lot of positive momentum. They're a fun team.
Yeah.
Like, we're pretty good.
And yeah, Darnold's playing as well as Baker.
What if the Rams and the Niners lose also? And it'd be like, we take this bitch over. Like, this division's coming through us, which I got 5-1. I tried to tell everyone that those odds were crazy. Like, people were like overreacting to those last couple games. It's like, yeah, he played bad, but over the court, like that was his low moment. And
and look at Geno Smith now. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Seattle was right.
Totally. They nailed that one. Okay, a couple quick college games before we get out of here. I was in the car this morning and I heard Coward going, because the USC people were like, we want out of this game. This is BS. We're in the Big Ten. We're doing you a favor. I'm like, I hear that, but it's also like, this college sports. This isn't the NFL. Like, you play Notre Dame every year. But I also get like Notre Dame gets to pick and choose how they build it. If you're in the Big Ten, that rotation, like all of a sudden you get years where you're playing Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State, and you also got to play Notre Dame every year. But that's your rival. So it's like, you're just going to get rid of it. But I think the argument is, well, Texas A&M, some of these rivalries stopped playing as they went to different conferences. So I see both sides. I like this game, just like most people do. But you were right. I hadn't watched USC as closely this season as I did up until that game. The wide receiver number 6 is, I don't know, Amon-Ra St. Brown, like the Ohio State kind of slot guys. He's a stud. I mean, he's the real deal. So now it's going to be cold.
Remember the name.
Yeah, LA kid that was supposed to go with Lincoln to Oklahoma and then switched when he came there. So he was, Lincoln had in Oklahoma, even before he got there with Bob Stoops, had always sneaky had a little Southern California. I remember, was it Kenny Stills as a San Diego guy? So they would pluck guys over there. So not shocking that Lincoln was all over him. But I was impressed. And listen, you've been all over Michigan, not as good as really the last couple of years. I mean, is Sharon Moore good at his job? I mean, that's a big picture question mark. I think we got to ask relative to the standard that they want to uphold. Like, you're gonna compete with Ohio State and Oregon with this guy, coach? I don't know. It does feel like maybe I'm overreacting to that performance against Michigan because it could have easily been 45-13. I mean, they blew a couple red zone stops. Obviously on the road, weather, different animal. 9.5 feels like a lot of points, though. Am I crazy?
Yeah, there's a ton. College is as bad as NFL. There's a ton of injuries worth noting here. Notre Dame's gonna be without. They lost a starting center last week for the year. They're already down their left tackle. That's noteworthy. They're one of their best defensive tackles. Their defensive tackles, huge drop off from last year, but one of their best defensive tackles is also out. But their defense has played much better the past 3 weeks because they've gotten healthier. They got Leonard Moore back. It's one of the best corners in the college football. Devontae Smith, the transfer from Alabama, he's questionable. Will he play? That's huge because I am curious to see what Notre Dame does in the slot. Like Lemon's going to line up in the slot a ton. And Notre Dame, Devontae Smith's been hurt the entire year outside of week 1. He was going to be their slot corner. They had this kid, they tried this other kid, Hobbs, then they tried this kid Golden the past couple weeks, and he's been so bad. If it's Lemon versus this guy Golden, he's going to have 200 yards. But does Notre Dame take more and follow Lemon around? That's something that I'm watching.
Is this supposed to be raining?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to bring up. So USC's left tackle, he didn't end up playing last week. He's one of the best in the conference. We'll see on him. But USC's down all their backs, which is just massive. So they're down. I mean, Waymon Jordan, I think, you could make a case that he could rise up to like the second or third back, take it in the draft, because he can do it all. He's out like 6 weeks. His backup is out. So they're down to a true freshman walk-on who had 150 yards, oddly, last week against Michigan. King Miller, I think his name is. So, but is that going to hurt them here? Because the first back taken in the draft next week will be Jeremiah Love next year in the draft. They have one of the best backfields in the country. So, and the USC run defense is an elite. So if there's weather here, if there's wind, there could be wind and there could be a system that comes in during the game. Like you're not going to be able to throw as much, and USC doesn't have its backs. And Notre Dame, like that is a much better suited game for Notre Dame. So yeah, I think it's a little high, and there's still some injury uncertainty. But I'm curious to see. I don't know if I want to try to find out I don't think I'll be able to, but I know some people close to Notre Dame. I want to find out what Notre Dame's plan is for Lemon. First of all, if it was Lemon versus Moore, like Moore's played some snaps in the slot, but he mainly stays on the outside. Like that'd be one of the best matchups. Like that's one of the best corners in the country versus one of the best receivers. But if he's not in the slot, that's some Lemon could go off anyway. I think like betting Lemon props is the way to go, because like either USC is going to be in this game because they're finding a way to throw it, and he's going to be a big part of that. I mean, they have one of the Lemon and Lane are probably the best wide receiver duo in the country, or they get way behind and they're going to have to throw it anyway. But does feel a little bit high. This is, to me, it's close. It's an elimination game for Notre Dame. So if Notre Dame loses, they're out of the college football playoff. If they win, they're pretty much a lock.
Yeah,
because they're going to go 10-2. They don't play. I mean, at BC, BC has so many injuries and they're getting crushed every week. But like that's the red bandana game. I mean, maybe that's
and their losses are better than a lot of teams' wins. I mean,
yeah,
they just are. I mean, their losses. I mean, they're two top 5 teams. I mean, the best team, and A&M might end up winning the SEC. It's not out of the realm of possibility, right?
Yeah. So, but USC, it's not an elimination game, but it's close because it'll be their second loss.
That Illinois game's a killer for them. If they had banked that, this would be a lot less pressure on this game.
Yeah, they wouldn't need to win this game. So if they lose this game, then what they're going to have to do is beat Oregon. And I mean, they're also like at Nebraska.
That game's at Oregon, or is it in LA?
It's at Oregon. Like the rest of their schedule, they're like home against UCLA, home against Iowa, home against Northwestern. They do go to Nebraska. Will be a must win. But their hardest other game on their schedule is at Oregon. So USC has to split one of these two, I think, to get in. So yeah, this is a huge game for the college football playoff race. They could knock Oregon out too if they win that game. We already know Penn State's not going. So and it looks like Indiana and Ohio State are a lock. So, and the SEC, I think, is going to continue to beat up on each other. So, is there room for 4 Big Ten teams? And then if so, who are those other two? I mean, is it most likely one of them is going to be Oregon? But, can that other one be USC? They're probably going to have to get one of these games. And then one of the spots that someone else could take is going to be filled by Notre Dame if Notre Dame wins this game.
Okay, a couple other quick ones. I always you were on one on Saturday night because you were not happy with Kirby dictating the terms with the
oh
officials.
My gosh.
And you were all over that thing, and it was looking like 17-0. You were cruising, and then they fumble, and then
they run in. They could have just went down, and I would have covered. But Stockton runs it in instead of going down. That game, I don't get tilted often. That game sent me into a tailspin.
I don't blame you. Same with the AD and Hugh as they were walking off the field in that first half. I mean, it was a meltdown down there on the plains.
That was something.
And now we got Georgia. You've been all over Georgia that they're not nearly what they've been. And now Ole Miss beat them last year, which should have been like a defining moment for Dart and Lane, but they blew that Kentucky game, and then they blew it at the end to Florida, which saved Billy Napier's job for another season. Now it looks like Billy Napier's going to get fired on Sunday. So a lot of variables, things tied to each other. Obviously, Lane and Kirby's relationship goes back a long time. They got text chains going. He fucks with them on social media. He calls them fat. Like they have a unique relationship. But I don't know. I mean, if Ole Miss goes to Georgia and were to win this game, would they then be basically a playoff lock? Would you consider
pretty
them
much
if they win this game?
Pretty
much. This is a massive moment in Georgia. Once you lose that Alabama game, you have a little less margin for error. It's why when I was watching that first half and it looked like they were about to get, you never want to say blowout because it's college, things can change fast. But that place, I respect Auburn's crowd. I mean, that place rocks. I mean, that is
Jordan Hare at night is no joke.
Yeah, it's LSU at night. It's obviously, Tuscaloosa's had a lot of night games. A&M gets a lot of credit. And you're watching that place with the towels, you're like, this place is badass. And you could feel the pressure on Kirby knows, like, our season's about to feel over here if we lose this game. I don't know. Can this little guy from Ferris State go into Georgia and win a massive SEC game?
I don't think so. I mean, Ole Miss has the weakest strength of schedule in the SEC of any SEC team so far. I mean, look, they arguably should have lost to Arkansas without a fumble. They barely won at Kentucky. Last week
they were losing to Washington State right in the second half.
Yeah, I mean they beat Washington State as a 33-point favorite, 24-21. Like, the defense isn't great. They lost so much talent from that group last year. It was one of the most talented defenses in the country last year. The offensive line isn't great. The weapons aren't as good. Now, this kid Chambliss played well, D2 Ferris State transfer, but this is his first SEC road game. And what they do is they use a lot of tempo. They get up to the line, and then Lane, they use some motion, and then Lane will find the mismatches. But the communication cuts off. And on the road, that's going to be tougher to do in Athens. Now, am I running to lay it with Georgia? No. I mean, as I've been saying, this Georgia team is not, there's no really, I think the two best teams in the SEC are A&M and Alabama. But even Alabama, I mean, Alabama beats Missouri by 3. They beat Georgia by 3. They got pretty fortunate against Vandy at home in a major revenge spot. Vandy had turned it over a bunch in the red zone, and then they had a meaningless touchdown late. Like, there's just not that much separation from tier 1 and tier 2 in the SEC this year. So, yeah, I mean, how I look to bet this game is I will give Ole Miss and Lane came out and said this. He basically said that they were preparing for Georgia last week during Washington State week. So it was just a horrendous performance. But he's going to have some wrinkles, I'm assuming. And Georgia's come out flat a lot over the past 2 years, but especially this year. But for all of Georgia's issues, like, their offensive line should be healthier this week. They should be able to run the ball in Ole Miss, but their defense isn't the same. Like, they're not getting elite pressure. Their secondary isn't as good as it usually is. But Kirby is one of the best in-game adjusters in the sport. So if Ole Miss comes out, Lane has a couple of tricks up his sleeve. I will be looking to bet Georgia live or Georgia second half. I don't think Ole Miss has the horses to get this done on the road, but this definitely isn't an elite Georgia team. Like all the teams in the SEC to me are like, even Alabama's, they're and A&M, they're all like 5 to like 15, like a bunch of these teams, and there's just not that much difference between them. So I think we'll continue to see chaos. I do think if I had to take two right now, it would probably be A&M and Alabama. But any of these teams, I mean, I'm talking LSU, Vandy, Ole Miss, Missouri, Tennessee, like they're all capable of beating each
Well,
other.
if Mateer played like he did the first couple weeks, they look whatever we
Oklahoma,
witnessed last week. What the bleep was that? I mean,
yep,
Jesus,
he
Louise.
definitely was not healthy.
No, it was horrendous.
Texas, I didn't even mention, but like Texas, their offense, I don't think has but they have an elite defense. I do think Kentucky is live. I did take Kentucky plus 13 this weekend. Oh, it should be an ugly game. The Texas offense is still nothing. I mean, last week they scored 23, but they had a punt return for a touchdown. They had 3 turnovers. They were playing a hurt quarterback. Kentucky coming off a bye, they'll just play zone and say you can't get an explosive and make Arch and that offense march it down the field. Now, how's Kentucky going to score? I don't know, but I don't trust this Texas offense in a bad spot to cover with margin. And then I don't mind Vandy against LSU. LSU has key defensive injuries, like major injuries. Whitweek's their best linebacker. They're already without one of their best defensive linemen. They could be without 2 more. That's not good against Vandy. He wants to control the clock. They want to run the ball. And this LSU offense, they can't run the ball at all. So basically, they're just saying Nussmeier, throw it around 40 to 50 times. That's leading to like a lot of 3 and outs. And, he's still good, and that offense is still okay, but it's not great because they can't run it, and there's just no balance. So what is that going to lead to? That's probably going to lead to Vandy just controlling the clock. And look, they're coming off a bye. They have great offensive minds. And LSU plays a very aggressive defense, which isn't the most ideal way to play Vandy because there's a lot of misdirection and try to just find some explosives. But I think Vandy controlling the clock throughout that game with LSU's defensive injuries, I think LSU's eventually going to wear down. So I don't mind Vandy there.
I mean, that game could have ripple effects on college football. All of a sudden, LSU could go into a tailspin, and we could
Yep.
start being like, is Brian Kelly going to try to get out of there? And like, hey, Kraft at Penn State, I'm interested. We can do a swap. You don't need to buy me out. And then Clark Lee used to keep winning these games. You do what you do at Vanderbilt. I mean, that put James Franklin on the map once upon a time and got him the Penn State job. So I understand this guy's a alumni there, but are we not talking about this guy enough for like, why isn't, if Lane ain't going to leave Florida, the Florida State, shouldn't they be all over this guy? He's doing this
Yep.
in the SEC with Vandy.
Yeah, I agree.
And his
And
buddies, the GM from like high school that used to work at like rivals, like they got a pretty high level operation. Whatever's going on in LSU, which everyone agrees is not what they thought when Brian Kelly got there. This is the opposite. These guys, we thought last year a little bit of a one hit wonder. I mean, holy shit, they've come back swinging. I've been blown away by how good they've been.
yeah, and they can play with anyone in the SEC. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's just not that much difference between like who people consider the tier 1 and then the next tier. And then you throw Florida in. There's rumors that Napier is going to be fired no matter what. If he loses this weekend against Mississippi State, he's going to be fired for sure, I think. But there's rumors he's going to be gone. Like, and that job opens up. So the coaching carousel in college football is pretty crazy right now.
Yeah, a lot of jobs. Okay, Stuckey, enjoy the weekend, and hopefully Kirby doesn't make you blow a gasket again. And have a
I
good
won't
one.
be on Ole Miss, so all of social media can thank me for that.
How was the baby shower at the bar?
Oh, it was fun. We went from I had a bunch of people in town, so I went out all day Saturday and Saturday night. Woke up and then went right to the bar for the early games, and then was at the bar till 2 in the. I was doing karaoke with my little sister at like 1 in the morning on the Sunday. It ruined my entire week. It's been rough preparing all these games. Like, I haven't been able to sleep, but it was fun. A lot of people came, got a lot of gifts, saw a lot of people that I care about. So it was fun. But I was mainly just sweating NFL with friends and saying hi to some family. But yeah, it was a good time. But yeah, back to back, with people, a bunch of people being in town, I had to go out Saturday and then the shower was just at the bar on Sunday. Had to go out both days. Luckily, it was a really, really good weekend betting. But the Auburn game was the low light because I really wanted that one. And
You had to be pretty intoxicated by that point, too.
oh, it's
That's
hammered, hammered. It's just so I should just give my phone to like someone and be like, once I get to that point. But people love when I tweet. I always get like people love that stuff because I really do care and I'm sweating it so hard. Because I know how many people follow and I also have money on it. So yeah, it was fun, but I definitely had a couple too many beverages. But it was I don't understand, that whole sequence was crazy. And then like after that, all the flags and yeah, that one was
it was the second half of the game when he did the timeout thing and he said he was clapping, right?
Yeah, I mean I should have at that point just everything was going to go to shit for Auburn, and Kirby's such a good
double
adjuster.
down on Georgia.
I should have just came back on Georgia, which I didn't. I got too invested. I was like, I want Auburn to win this game. I feel bad for their fans, and but yeah, it was a fun weekend. This weekend will be a lot more chill, I'll tell you that.
I'm always indifferent on the program, but then you watch a night like that night and you realize why this job is pretty highly talked about. I mean, obviously they financially have backing, but like you want to work at a place, whether you're in the NFL or whether you're in college football, at a place that cares. Like you want to be the head coach of Kentucky basketball. Why? People give a shit. Like I understand, like, because I'm like, is Auburn really? Well, you watch that game Saturday night against a Georgia, against an Alabama, against an LSU. It's like a religious experience. It matters. So it's like I kind of like, okay, I kind of get Auburn a little more than I need to give the program a little more credit, like than I think they probably get from like Southern people, because it does feel like a program that's won before, but it does feel second rate a little bit, and it probably shouldn't be, and that is probably what they would argue, people around the program, like we should be one of the top programs.
Well, and we just to tie it all back, Hugh Freeze on the hot seat now.
Yeah.
Loses this game against Missouri. Some people are saying he's gone. So yeah, the coaching carousel.
So Clark Lee is going to get some of these offers because there aren't enough bodies to go around.
Agreed. Right? Yep.
So it's like he's going to have to turn people down to stay at Vanderbilt.
You got Summerall, who will be in the mix who's at Tulane. He's going to get a job. I mean, Kentucky with Stoops, that's a second tier job, but he might not be here. So there's so many jobs. I think Summerall can get one of them. There'll be some assistance, but yeah, it's like there's a guy at New Mexico. He's a hot name, but he I don't think he can, like, who will jump up to like a top tier yet, but the trickle down effect and where all these guys are going to come from, like even the Wisconsin job's probably going to open. That's a second tier one, but
yeah,
it's crazy out there.
But if like Lane goes to Florida, Ole Miss, I mean, they've been kicking ass. That's a pretty good job. They pay a lot. Like a lot of people would be interested in that, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So it's like the guy at Tulane might have his pick of the litter. It might be choosing between a couple jobs on the second tier, right?
Yep. I'm also curious to see if, like, I don't know if he would. He seems like so loyal to the job, but I wonder. This is another. I have faith in Dillingham this weekend. Arizona State catching over a touchdown. It looks like Levitt's going to play against Texas Tech. Texas Tech's been amazing, but quarterback's questionable. A couple guys in that defensive line, which is dominant, or one of them's out, one of them's questionable. This is like your max effort for Arizona State. Like I almost throw last week's game out. I didn't even know Levitt was going to be out till the day before. This is their season. This is the peak of the market on Texas Tech, who's undefeated against the spread. Now laying over a touchdown at Arizona State. I did take ASU, but Dillingham, who I think is an outstanding coach, would he leave, his alma mater? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but he would be.
I think it'd have to be a big time job.
Yeah, huge one. But he would definitely get looks at some of the bigger jobs.
But if Florida and Penn State call him, like, you are a human being, you have to talk to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, Stuckey, enjoy the weekend, and hopefully you have a little more chill, relaxing time on Saturday and Sunday. I'll talk to you next week.
I will try. All right, have a good one, brother.